Hey guys, it's Jollean from Smith's Nature Friendly Farms. I think it's been a while since I've taken you guys on a bit of a road trip anywhere, so I thought we would go on a little adventure today and I would introduce you guys to the Great Mississippi Tea Farm. Alright, I'm super excited to take you on this little trip. We are not far from them. They're actually from Brookhaven, so we are also in the Brookhaven area, so it's pretty cool. They're nice and close. And just a little disclaimer, I do work for them on the side. I do a little bit of social media work for them, so we are connected. So I am promoting them in a way through my channel because they are so incredibly awesome, but they are a farm, and that's exactly why I wanted to show it to you, because what they've created in Mississippi is absolutely amazing. So we're going to go for a little drive. We're going to take a tour of their farm, and I'm going to see if maybe we can even get a little lesson on how to pluck some tea leaves. But let's go. All right guys, we are here. We are at the tea farm, and I'm going to give you a little tour of this amazing little piece of paradise in Brookhaven, Mississippi. Okay, for some history on this farm a bit, is really actually I think probably what is most amazing about this tea farm is the stories behind it. There's a story behind every plant, every tree, the property, to how Jason and Timmy got started. Everything is super fascinating. But in itself, it is also just how to make tea that also makes it fascinating. Let's take a look first off at where they make their tea and where they started out with for their first round of the tea plants. So these are the very first tea plants that existed on the farm. Well, they may not be the very first. I think they had some trial ones that they planted near their home, but this is the first ones that I think went into actual production. And they're about 1,000 bushes in here. Timmy and Jason had the choice of starting any kind of farm, and it's interesting that they chose tea. Tea is typically massively imported from China and other countries, I believe India a bit as well, and it is huge, a huge economy. Like, I believe it's like in the billions. Tea is like one of the #1 most popular beverages, black tea especially. So it really was brilliant of them to think about, well, how can we bring something, a product, to the United States that actually will grow here and that has the demand, and they came up with tea. The other factor that went into their desire to start a tea farm was that they are in an area where, as any of you that are my followers that know that are in the South, we're in a hurricane zone. We're in a hurricane and a growing tornado zone, and tea plants are far more adaptable to that weather than, say, if they decided to create a pine farm or something like that. So tea was really quite brilliant. Plus the soils was right for it. They need an acidic soil with lots of minerals, and it has all of that stuff. And when you get a tour on the tea farm, they'll talk to you about this kind of stuff in great detail, and I certainly won't do it justice. So these first tea plants were actually part of their first 30,000 that they planted, and only 1,000 survived. So you can imagine starting a tea farm and automatically out of the gates you're losing half your product. But that was a part, like any of us know that you're gardeners, you know that there is a huge part of gardening that is all about testing and learning. That's something that we talk about lots on my channel. I loved the test and learn in gardening. Well, it was absolutely apparent here, and it's still ongoing. They continue to innovate even in things like how they harvest and different aspects of their farming their tea plants. Even in their own plantings, they plant native plants in between to try and help bring nitrogen in. It's very fascinating, all the different things that they're putting together and learning along the way. And I highly recommend getting a tour if you're in the Mississippi area. You can actually book them through Harvest Hosts and stay a night if you're traveling in the South, and it's a great place to stop and stay to get that kind of a tour experience. And then of course, if you're a tea drinker, get some tea. So this tea field is a good example of how, as a farmer, you have to be determined to succeed. They have planted and replanted this field more than one occasion, as it has been taken over by super invasive weeds at times. So now they're on their latest attempt, and things are going much better. But these are brand new young baby tea plants that are in the ground, and actually they're probably just recently planted. So, and they're up to about 45,000 thriving tea plants right now. That doesn't include any seedlings not in the ground but planted. So you can see back there, there are fields of them back there. But they've been operating their business on their first 1,000 tea plants that exist. And that's amazing when you think about it. Like, they haven't even gotten into massive production yet, and they are going to be absolutely flourishing once they get all the rest of these tea plants going. Something else that's really fascinating about Jason and Timmy and starting this tea farm is that in their first 5 years, they didn't make a penny. They had to build and build, because it takes 5 years for a tea plant really to come to fruition so that they can actually begin harvesting. So it's really amazing to think that you have a 5-year investment just to get started as a tea farmer here. But ultimately their goal is to bring tea closer to Americans through a couple of means, like not just through their farm, but they're educating other farmers as well. And they're sharing that knowledge with backyard tea farmers and with companies or people that are starting up and stuff like that. So they are doing a lot to help Americans grow more tea, which is really fascinating. And not just Americans, Canadians as well. They have a lot of Canadian friends, so hey, they have me as well. So that there's a Canadian connection there as well. So it's really good of them to be doing that, as well as the fact that they are big trainers. Like, you can sign up for their courses. They put on a lot of courses on how to grow tea. So all those things that they've learned along the way, they're giving back through their training courses so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that they did. All right, I'm going to get a lesson, I think, in how to prune some tea leaves, pluck tea leaves. That's what it's called, plucking. I also learned when I started with them that they're not tea trees, they're tea plants. So that was my first mistake I've made with them. So let's go find some tea plants and let's learn how to pluck tea. All right, he's given me a fancy picking bag. I don't know if that goes around. I must go around my waist. This is going to be fun. All right, Timmy's going to show me how to pluck this tea. Let's take a look. And this is for an oolong tea. So every pluck is different depending on what type of tea you're making. If you're doing a green tea, usually it's the really young leaves. If it's an oolong, then it's a more mature leaf. But let's take a look. Everybody say hello to Timmy. All right, Timmy, show us what we're doing.
All right, so for oolongs, you typically want to go down as far as you possibly can, all the way down to 6. And this is going to be a specialty one. So when you're plucking, you're actually just kind of snapping. It's kind of like when you do asparagus and you hold the asparagus and you bend it and it snaps in the tender spot. That's what you're looking for.
Perfect. So you don't use your fingernail and clip it, you break it.
You actually snap it off.
Perfect. Thank you, Timmy. And here's an inside look at the processing place for the tea company. So really exciting, because a lot of this investment, this equipment, has been an investment for them to develop. And it is a meticulous facility. This room, they make their amazing pine needle tea. And if you go to their YouTube channel, I think they actually show this machine, the roller, which makes their leaf roll into little thin needle-like teas. It shows this. There's a video with this on it. So it's a really amazing piece of equipment. And they've had to have all this equipment shipped in at great cost, and like I said, it was 5 years before they produced anything they could even sell. So each year has been about expanding and being able to create and process more tea. Even this machine here, this is a small machine. I believe, don't quote me, I think it does the oxidization of the tea leaves. They could only produce a small amount of tea on this machine, so they had to invest in a much bigger machine. So there's another one out there that's quite larger in size, and it saves them in man hours and allows them to produce more tea. So this is part of their tea shack, they call it. Here's the leaf that we got. All right, guys, so we are back home. We are done at the Great Mississippi Tea Company, but I thought we would just finish up on them with showing you, one, my very own little tea plant that I'm so proud of, and two, I'm going to show you a little highlight of their product that I happen to have in my cupboards. But let's take a look at my tea plant. This is my own Camellia sinensis. I'm super excited about this. Technically, I've learned now that I could actually harvest this leaf, and you can see there's the old wood down here, and it's the new wood, or the leaf on the new wood, that I can harvest to make tea. Now, there's definitely a lot more to making the tea than just harvesting the leaf. There is a whole heck of a lot of innovation involved in order to get a quality cup of tea, and Jason and Timmy have that mastered. From sun withering, they have specialized lighting in order to replicate what it's like to have your tea leaves withered in the sun up in China. Instead, they're doing it with UV lights here, and they are achieving fantastic quality and flavor in their tea. So there's lots of things that has to happen. A leaf has to be bruised for oxidation, I think, to occur. And again, don't take all of my verbiage expertise on it. You want to talk to the plant guys, and I'll give you their information down in the description below. But there's a lot that has to happen before you can actually make a cup of tea. For me to have this plant, it's more symbolic than anything else, so it's kind of cool. All right, guys, to finish up on our tea, this is a bag of their oolong tea. This is a fantastic tea made with the mature leaf. It has a pretty good kick of caffeine, so if you're looking for something that kind of competes with coffee but is not quite the same, this is the one you want to go with. Green teas and yellow teas, I think white teas also tend to have less caffeine, but you can learn a lot of that from them on their channel. So I highly recommend following them on the Great Mississippi Tea Company on YouTube and or Facebook if you're in that channel, or Twitter. I think they're on every channel. What do you mean I think? I know. They are on every channel. And they have also things like tea blossom honey, and if you're a tea fan, they have lots of tea gifts as well. So super great guys. They are awesome people in general. They support things like the rescue place for dogs out here, which I'm an animal lover. These guys have 5 of their own dogs, so they definitely are dog lovers, and they're very good to the community of Brookhaven. So we're super excited not only to be friends with them, but also that they are farmers and that they are bringing tea to Americans closer to home, and Canadians also. So check them out. Make sure you take a look at them. That's it, you guys. Be friendly, be kind.